WrestleMania 36 is in the record books, 2 nights of some awesome wrestling, and I thought I would try to cover my general thoughts, but hopefully quick, on exactly what went down on both nights. Let's go. So that's a wrap on WrestleMania 36. It is in the record books and will go down as one of the probably most memorable of WrestleManias just because of all the circumstances going on in the world right now. So I thought it'd be cool to cover my quick thoughts on everything that went down on both nights. Let's do it. So before we get too ahead of ourselves, I do have to let you know that I have fallen so out of love with the WWE product. I just can't commit that kind of time to that amount of content. I haven't watched Raw or Smackdown or NXT in years. I do still watch the major pay-per-views, and I'm always kind of in touch through social media on what's going on. I just, again, can't commit to that kind of time. And honestly, this was the first time ever where I was even debating watching WrestleMania. Almost. So without further ado, let's just break it down match by match, night by night, and we kicked it off with Alexa Bliss and Nicki Cross against the Kabuki Warriors. I have to say, being a wrestler myself as well, that it is very difficult to perform in front of small crowds. So the fact that there was no crowd is something to take into consideration when these guys are performing. And also, an odd addition is you're thinking of the performance of the spots throughout the match, but you can actually hear the commentary of Michael Cole and JBL or Byron Saxton, and I don't know the other guy's name. Sorry again, just a little out of touch with the product. But hearing the commentary while wrestling must have been a very different experience. But Asuka is somebody who I had all the faith in the world in being able to carry this match vocally. And that is something we'll see as a pattern throughout the night, is the wrestlers who can be vocal in the match and help convey the story that they're doing, be in character, bring more drama, and tell more of the story through their words, helped create that atmosphere and noise and kept you engaged in the match. And we're going to see there's a few others that I had high hopes for in delivering on some special circumstances like these. But this match was great. Asuka and Kairi Sane brought it absolutely great with their character work. They're just having a whole lot of fun out there, and you could tell through their performances over the last few months that that is what's happening with them, and they're just hitting a different stride. Alexa Bliss and Nicki Cross have been a great team for a little while now. I think this was a great way to showcase Nicki. Again, just performing in front of no crowd, the explosiveness of her comeback when she really brought it. She brought that energy when she ripped off the jacket and stuff. Very dynamic, made it a whole lot more fun of a comeback and of a match, and just a great way to kick off WrestleMania, in my opinion, with these guys. And it was good to see Alexa Bliss and Nicki Cross get the win, new tag team champions. A great hot way to kick off a very quiet, somber version of WrestleMania. Now after this, we had Baron Corbin, King Corbin, however you want to go by with him, is taking on Elias. And I honestly thought that this match wasn't even going to happen with the spot that they did with Elias falling off the balcony. I think they were calling it that. But lo and behold, Elias shows up, guitar in hand, and takes a swing. So we got another hot start to a match here at WrestleMania that really needed something like that to kick it up a little bit. Now, I'm a big fan of both guys. Watching Baron Corbin perform live, he really holds the audience within the palm of his hand. He doesn't have to work too hard to try to impress you. His job is to be hated, and he does a very good job at it. Elias, of course, very over. We haven't seen enough of him in ring, so this was refreshing. Now, these guys really didn't have a whole lot to work with in their match as far as a build-up of a story. So they really had to tell a story with their match, and I thought they did a tremendous job with it. The guitar shot at the beginning helped even the odds a little bit after Elias took that spill off the balcony. And then Corbin, of course, dominating most of the match as the heel. I like the idea of throwing him in the corner several times, and then eventually the tide gets turned. Elias makes his comeback. Elias gets a nice big win, and much needed, I believe, at WrestleMania. So that was good to see as well. And again, just on a roll so far with some great matches. And then surprisingly, we had Becky Lynch against Shayna Baszler for the Raw Women's Championship. And it was a match. I wasn't totally blown away with this thing, but I thought the girls did a great job. They had a lot of story to play with. I'm not totally surprised they didn't play more into Shayna trying to bite her neck again, but we did see the swing into the table spot teased and then repeated, so I thought that was great. And with the finish that they had, I thought it was a great way to protect Shayna. Becky had been preparing for Shayna, so she knows what her finish is. So to counter it like that, I thought was a great way to keep the status quo. And I think they're going to continue to develop this and bring more to it. So we'll see as things develop. I think this is just the beginning of the story, and we'll see Shayna with that women's title. Maybe Money in the Bank, maybe SummerSlam. Everything's very different, but I'm sure we'll see it somewhere down the road. Shayna looks to be the one that's going to take the title away from Becky. So up next, we had the Intercontinental Championship on the line with Sami Zayn taking on Daniel Bryan. Two absolute workhorses, some of the very best in-ring performers of all time. And it was a match. It wasn't the 30 minutes, thing that a lot of people, I'm sure, were dreaming of and hoping for. It wasn't meant to be that on the card, so I totally understand where those guys came from. I thought they did solid with what they had. Not a whole lot of story going into it, so they had a little bit of creative freedom to just kind of do what they wanted to do in the match. Kept it, fairly reasonable, and great to see both guys still around, showcasing a championship match at WrestleMania. And we had the triple threat ladder match next. Kofi Kingston, Jimmy Uso, and John Morrison. And man, I've been in some hardcore matches. I've been in street fights, ladder matches, things like that. So going into this, knowing that there's no audience, usually the audience will help amplify your adrenaline so that what you feel in the moment is delayed and you'll feel more of what happened throughout the match in the locker room after the fact. I can only imagine how this felt going out there with no audience and really putting your bodies on the line the way these guys did. So all the props in the world to all three of them. I thought this was amazing. I thought they did great with what they had. I thought there was a lot of great sequences, a lot of crazy stuff. And I thought the finish was very unique. I'm glad they went with something to have you talking and have you not sure of what was going on. And when all three of them had the titles, and then I thought it was a great heel finish with Morrison being able to slip away with the belts as the other two held onto the clip for the belt. I thought that was great. I thought it was a perfect way to put over Miz and Morrison, who really just won the belt. So, let them hold it for a little bit and see where it goes. Crazy that John Morrison's back and kind of just back where he was before he left. I really thought they were going to do something different with him, but I guess they just kind of have other plans, or maybe they're building up to a Miz and Morrison match. Who knows? But really interesting. Kind of funny that he's got to come back to that kind of a WrestleMania too. But again, those guys absolutely nailed it out of the park. I thought it was a very solid ladder match, all things considering. So I talked a little bit earlier about people communicating in their matches, being verbal, bringing the drama, bringing the intensity, and help telling the story. And this is the match that I thought would absolutely deliver on all of that, being Kevin Owens against Seth Rollins. Kevin Owens is so vocal in the ring, and Seth is such a good dramatic storyteller that this just would work with an empty arena no matter what. I was very blown away by the ring bell shot and the DQ. I thought maybe that would be it and they could do some more stuff later, but they actually continued the match, and it made sense, being that they wanted to give Kevin Owens a WrestleMania moment. That's kind of what the story was of this thing, and Rollins, of course, being the cowardly heel. It really makes for a much more entertaining match when the wrestlers are talking when there's no fans there. And I don't mean telling their spots. I mean trash talking. I mean verbally cutting promos literally during your match. It really does help make for a much more entertaining performance. Now, the dive, it was like an elbow or like a senton, I guess, with Kevin Owens. Amazing. Props to him for doing it. I'm sure me in that scenario would probably be doing the same crazy thing. To try to make a memorable moment, to try to create something that makes it feel that much more special. Again, when the audience isn't there to witness it, it makes it so much tougher. But I thought these guys absolutely delivered it. Awesome to see Owens get his win. I thought it was a really good match, and probably the match of the night up until this point. After that, we saw Goldberg against Braun Strowman for the championship. Being that I watch the Major 4 pay-per-views only, I'm accustomed to the style of match that Goldberg and Brock Lesnar deliver with kind of the 2-move repeated offense. Of course, it's repetitive. I'm sort of getting tired of them, But at the end of the day, it really helps balance the match. Whereas if they drew it out and really tried to have a match, it would feel slow and it would be a hard watch. So I think this way it keeps it safe and entertaining. And I was very surprised. I did not expect Braun Strowman to go over, but I assume the plan was that Goldberg was just going to come in, drop the belt to Roman Reigns to give him a high-profile match. And, of course, Reigns backing out with his leukemia history and the whole trying not to get infected with this coronavirus. Totally makes sense. Cool that Braun gets the title, I guess, in this way. I know he's not a fan favorite right now on social media. I think this was long overdue if they were going to do it, and I think this is just going to be him holding on the belt until it's Roman's turn to come back and take it away from him. So, is what it is. Could have been a lot worse. We'll move on. The main event of night one is the Boneyard match with The Undertaker and AJ Styles, and I was absolutely looking forward to this and was interested to see what they would pull off. And man, legitimately, I said this on Twitter at the end of the night, that was one of my favorite matches, especially a WrestleMania match, of all time. I know cinematic wrestling is not everyone's cup of tea. We're not accustomed to it. It's still something that is very new and fresh and experimental. And I thought that this was the best cinematic wrestling match of all time. I thought they told a tremendous story. I thought it showcased both characters very well. It helped highlight all of Undertaker's strengths. It helped improve his legacy with the last couple of matches he has had. This is a great way to showcase him, make him look like a badass. AJ Styles' story looked like the absolute biggest coward that needed all the help in the world, that had all these plans and they all backfired because he's the Undertaker. And it made for a thoroughly entertaining performance. Again, the matches, when they're talking to each other, the trash talk, the vocalization, it helps amp up the drama, it helps amp up the entertainment, and it makes for a much smoother watch than a lot of dead air and a lot of silence in the match. So this was phenomenal, pun intended. Legitimately loved this thing, start to finish. I was intrigued. I was laughing at times. I was nodding in approval. I was elbowing my wife, telling me that that's the greatest thing ever, and I hope they do this. And the pyro at the end off the building with the big Taker symbol and the Metallica songs. It was amazingly entertaining and a lot better than I even wanted to give them credit for. It, again, seriously was, because of the drama, because of the storytelling, because of the circumstances, because of the sequences and the ideas and the ridiculousness of it all, was one of my favorite matches. I would put it in top 10 of all time. Night 2, we kicked it off with the girls again, this time Rhea Ripley against Charlotte Flair, and I was pumped for this one. If there's anything I've been really intrigued with since I haven't been watching weekly wrestling, it's to see the women's division and all of them succeed and be given platforms to really nail it out of the park. And I was really hoping that this would be Rhea Ripley's moment. Charlotte, of course, again, somebody I believed in and just bringing the drama. She's really good at telling stories and getting so much value out of such little things with her selling, her facial reactions, her emotions, her range of emotions that she displays throughout a match is amazing. Anybody who's aspiring to be a pro wrestler, watch and learn from Charlotte. That being said, this match, they put in a lot of time, and I thought it was an excellent way to showcase both the girls. They both delivered. Charlotte being the dominant force that's had all that time on the main roster now. Rhea Ripley coming up, kind of stepping a little bit out of her league, but trying to hold her own. Breaking down Rhea's leg the entire match. It was a nice, easy story to follow. It showed Rhea's guts and determination and her grit. It really helped bring out that rocker character a little bit. Nod to the Vegeta gear. I thought this was a great, different way to start off WrestleMania. I thought, again, both girls absolutely nailed it. Great match. Not surprised at all to see Charlotte Flair win the NXT title. I think they were trying to really build up NXT as must-see TV, so to have a main star cross over and go there was great. It was great to give Rhea a WrestleMania moment and a match and really amp up her stock. They seem to see a lot of value in her and making her a big star in the women's division, so hopefully more of that comes in the future. Then they had Aleister Black and Bobby Lashley. Not a whole lot of story going into it, not a whole lot of story in the match. It was a match. It helped fill some time. Is what it is. Good to see Aleister Black get a win at WrestleMania. And next we had Dolph Ziggler and Otis. And this one had a lot of story. Something they've been building up for months and months and months and months. And I thought it was great. It was a nice, easy story to follow. Otis much bigger than Ziggler. Sonya at ringside was a nice little touch too to help Ziggler get away with cheating in a lot of moments. And then we had Mandy Rose come out and the big payoff. Turning on Ziggler. Siding with Otis. Turning on Ziggler, siding with Otis. No. And then Mandy Rose came out. And this was the moment of anticipation that everyone wanted to know. Was Mandy with Ziggler? Was Mandy with Otis? Turn on Ziggler. There she is with Otis. Otis gets a big win at WrestleMania all by himself. Otis gets Mandy Rose in his arms. They kiss. They have a little bit of a fun WrestleMania moment. It would have been so much bigger with the live crowd there, unfortunately. But you do what you have to do. And at the end of the day, I thought it was terrific. And it'll be interesting to see where they go and how long-term this story of Otis and Mandy plays out. I don't think it's going to be long. Then we had Edge coming back after 9 years to face Randy Orton in a last man standing match. This is the match I was most excited for in a lot of ways. I was a big Edge fan as a kid and as a teenager. So moved when he returned at the Royal Rumble to see the emotion in his face. It really connects with me as a performer. It was awesome to see him get here, and it's kind of unfortunate again missing the crowd in a scenario like that where this is his big moment to come back and prove that he can still go and get a chance to relive it and, as he said, finish it on his own terms. Being a last man standing match in an empty arena, not an easy task by any means. Last man standing matches in general are very hard to pull off and keep entertaining throughout. That being said, I thoroughly enjoyed the free tour of the Performance Center. I thought these guys did a lot with a little. I did not expect a brawl around the entire venue, and I thought it made for a unique presentation for this match compared to every other match on the card. It made them stand out. These guys destroyed each other. Some of the spots coming off of that cage through a table, throwing each other into so many different things, the weight equipment and the walls that they used, the when Edge pulled himself up from the ceiling and dropped the elbow on that meeting table, and then of course fighting on top of a semi. Like, you guys are nuts. But I thought it was a really great match. I would have enjoyed it a little bit more if there was more. I would have enjoyed Orton talking more, being that snake, that slow villain that he likes to portray, that he is so amazing at. I would have preferred more of that. Because the commentary, I don't know what was wrong with them. I don't know if they were burnt out, if they were like into hour 10 of recording WrestleMania, but they were just sort of like doing that golf commentary that WWE is accustomed to, where it's just, they're just talking about it. They're not bringing the emotion. They weren't selling the gravity and the danger of everything that these guys are doing. They weren't selling enough of like Edge's neck history. It really missed in a lot of ways for me, unfortunately. I am going to go back and watch it though, because I did enjoy it. I enjoy both wrestlers. Edge and Orton are some of my absolute favorites growing up. And they put in a lot of time. I think the match was like 32 or 38 minutes or something like that. Absolutely insane that they would go that long in that stipulation. I thought it was good. I just thought it could have been better. Like I said, the commentary was bothering me, and I was just like yelling. My wife was beside me. I'm just like, why aren't they saying this? Why aren't they covering this? But I'm gonna go watch it again and appreciate it a little bit more for what the guys did, because those guys busted their butts, and unfortunately, again, repeated pattern, just the circumstances unfortunately took a lot away from it. So is what it is, unfortunately. Not the best match of the night for me. I know a lot of guys did say it was, though, some friends included. So but for me, it was good. It just wasn't great. Up next, Street Profits against Garza and Austin Theory. I tucked my kid into bed at this point, so I missed the entire match. I'm not choked about it. I think it was just a match thrown together, kind of. I will say, Montez Ford has megastar written all over him. The charisma, the movement, the character, all of it. He is dripping in personality. I love it. I want to see more of him. When they were in Winnipeg for Raw, he had a great, outstanding match with Seth Rollins. A real career-making match that I think opened eyes to management a little bit of what this guy is capable of. And I think we're going to see a lot more of him. I really get Rock vibes from Montez Ford. So the sky's the limit. I hope big things happen for him. Up next, Bayley defending the SmackDown Women's Championship against Sasha Banks, Tamina, Lacey Evans, and Naomi. This was way better than I expected it. Unfortunately, WWE has a track record of just throwing a lot of people into matches and they just don't click, or they're just sort of eh. This, though, was phenomenal. I thought the girls did an amazing job. This had me hooked, actually, because they did so much story work within their match to help bring it all together to really keep you invested in things. So, of course, going into this, we have the story of Bayley being the heel, cowardly champion. She has her friend Sasha Banks in there. So immediately you have the story of these two working together. But you also have the story of Tamina being the bigger woman that everyone wants to take out. And they did a phenomenal job of not only doing that, but highlighting Tamina taking on all four sometimes at once. They really made Tamina look like a star in this thing. And it was great to see that for a change. Tamina was gone first. Then it became almost a tag team match. The 2-on-2, Lacey and Naomi decided to work together to try to upset Bayley and Sasha. But, of course, being former tag team champions, those two took care of Naomi. And it came down to Lacey Evans against both Sasha Banks and Bayley. And they really did a phenomenal job of building up Lacey as a credible babyface to try to overcome the odds of these two former and the current women's champions, and I thought they did great. I thought that Bayley accidentally hitting Sasha and then getting her eliminated was awesome. Bayley sitting back and just kind of letting it happen, so that way Sasha's out of the way and it can just be her now, so there's no turmoil, purposely anyways, between the two. And then there you go. Lacey trying her best to overcome Bayley after everything that had happened. Sasha makes the comeback down the ring, helps Bayley out, heals her up. It's a heel way to win, so it keeps them perceived as heels rather than the better wrestler than the babyface. Great job. Multi-person matches, especially a 5-way is a weird number. I thought they nailed it out of the park. One of the better women's matches we've seen in WrestleMania history, actually, if you go back and watch that, knowing what I've just said. And then the controversial Firefly Funhouse match. John Cena against The Fiend Bray Wyatt. And I think this was a victim of circumstance. I think if this went on night one, people would have enjoyed it a lot more. That being said, it was very different. But I think the perceived reception from the Boneyard match, people had high expectations for this thing. But it was a very different crew putting it together, and it was a very different story that these guys were telling. You had to be able to suspend your belief a lot. They were asking a lot from the audience in this thing. And even at the beginning, for me, it was like, okay, where is this going? Like, because John Cena playing along with Bray Wyatt didn't make sense. So you had to, in your mind, tell yourself that Bray Wyatt is controlling John Cena. This was very much like a Freddy Krueger nightmare type scenario. And I did a great thread on Twitter. Go check it out if you haven't, about the Firefly Funhouse match. I got that right. But this was the story of John Cena and Bray Wyatt and WrestleMania 30, and how John Cena kind of sacrificed everything because he wanted to be the guy. He told Vince that he was going to be the guy. And this is like very behind the scenes stuff that they're covering in a story in the fictional wrestling ring. So it was asking a lot. But John Cena was the top guy, and he was sort of judge, jury, and executioner on who he was going to help out and bring up with him. And despite him having multiple chances and almost being fired on several occasions, he kept getting chance after chance after chance. And at the end of the day, when John Cena had the chance to elevate and make Bray Wyatt, when the fans were begging for Bray Wyatt to be this megastar, they believed in him. It all came to WrestleMania 30. All he had to do was swing the chair. But because John Cena was too afraid to turn heel, they never pulled the trigger on that. And in fact, it hurt Bray. It hurt the whole Wyatt family. It hurt that gimmick. And it sort of faded away and really hurt Bray Wyatt's stock for a very long time. But Bray Wyatt rebounded. Created the Fiend character, really created a new opportunity for himself like this, and now he's showing John Cena his biggest fears of failure. And they flash back to a lot of stuff like The Rock beating him at Mania, CM Punk taking the title away, Roman Reigns replacing him as the top guy, Brock Lesnar beating him down, replacing him as the champ that they run with month to month, year to year. John Cena's identity has been stripped away, and he had the chance to look at himself as a heel, and he didn't want to see that, so he tried to attack Bray, but it was too late. The Fiend, or John Cena, let him in. You know, I thought it was amazing storytelling. It wasn't everyone's cup of tea. I was the only one in a friend chat group that enjoyed the match and really understood what was going on. And I helped break it down on Twitter. If you weren't a fan, go check it out. Maybe it'll change your mind, maybe it won't. It was asking a lot, so I totally get people not enjoying it. This was also advertised as a match, and it was more of a promo. But I thought it was great character work, a great showcase for Bray Wyatt, and a unique presentation again. We talked about Edge and Orton brawling around. This was a unique presentation, very different from the rest of the matches throughout both nights of WrestleMania. So it stands out that much more, and it's something that a lot of people are going to be talking about. And I hope, honestly, that we see more of this in the future. And I'm sure they're going to tweak things and learn from this experience and do some better stuff and create some better moments and really give Bray Wyatt a chance to shine in the gripping, emotional, character-driven way that he shines at best. And finally, main event for night 2, Drew McIntyre challenging Brock Lesnar for the championship. This was great. This is exactly what I expected it to be. This is exactly the way it probably should have been. Nice, fast, physical. Brock dominating at first. McIntyre making the comeback. There's the Claymore kicks. Nice and quick. Over soon. Drew McIntyre is the new Universal Champion, I think. Not the WWE Champion. I don't know. He's the Red Champion. But yeah, no, it was a great main event. Great way to end WrestleMania. It ended a little early, which I'm not complaining about because, I mean, we've seen 7-hour WrestleManias. I did skip the pre-shows, but this being separated into 2 nights made it a much easier watch than I'm accustomed to. So it was refreshing. It was awesome. I hope they continue to do 2 nights forward. I've been telling my friends this for a long time that I think they should make that call, even in the giant stadiums. It probably means more money for WWE, but it means much easier watches and much less of a demand from the audience to sit there for that long. You just seem to forget things, but the way this was pieced together with 2 nights, it really helps you remember that much more from the nights. And like I said, hopefully we see more of that in the future. So I hope you liked my WrestleMania 36 review. This was so much easier watching in 2 nights, and I hope they go forward with this. It just made everything much more memorable. It was able to separate and breathe and let us digest kind of what all happened throughout both nights separately rather than together. I don't like sitting around for 7 hours watching wrestling. Let me know what you thought. Drop it below in the comments. In case you don't know, in case you're new to this, I am a professional wrestler. I am Jay Walker, social media superstar. Glitch in the system. I'll have a link below so you guys can check out those t-shirts at my Pro Wrestling Tee store if you want. I'm based out of Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. Really trying to make a name for myself here. So if you support my journey, appreciate it. If not, no big deal. But I hope you enjoyed my WrestleMania 36 review. Again, let me know what you think. I'm always on Twitter too if you're down for a chat about it. @IamJWalker. Until next time, guys, thanks for watching. Take care.